Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, my friends. This is the choose a main video for Iron Saga Versus. So this is a newly released mecha-based 2D fighting game, and we got a lot of mechas from the popular Iron Saga mobile game, and also some just mecha legends like Mazinger Z and Robo as well. And in this video, I'm going to be going over all the characters, the entire roster, just telling you what they're all about, what they're capable of, and as well the fact that every character has multiple variations called arsenals in this game, and each variation, each arsenal, wildly changes how they play. Now, I'm not talking like this is a new special move or two. I'm talking like this basically plays like an all-new character depending on which arsenal you happen to be in. It's a very big deal. So this roster that you're looking at, effectively double the playable characters if you want to look at it that way. Now, as we go into it, this is going to be a longer video, right? So I'll timestamp everything, so skip forward to whichever character looks interesting to you. And also, hey, leave a like. It sincerely helps out the video. And you know what? We're going to start with the main event here. Let's start with Mazinger Z. Now, here we are with Mazinger Z. So Mazinger Z is a very good, just kind of all-rounder style of character, and with some interesting strengths. Like his normals, like that's stand jab. So he has some extreme range, crouch medium as well. Like if you look at this and you're like, is this a big no-fly zone? Well, it turns out, yeah, you can't even begin to jump against this character. Also, on top of that, he also has a unique command normal, up and just heavy attack, this knee. It's not a Shoryuken uppercut style move specifically. However, it is armored startup and will also just crush jumps. So it's very difficult to jump against him, which is great because he has a very annoying projectile game. So this is the base version without getting into any of the arsenals, the variations. But yeah, so he has 3 angles of projectile with his rocket punch. And with this, you can get really annoying really fast, just zoning people out. And once again, people get frustrated, they try to jump, and then, oh, by the way, you can't jump against this character too well. A fun thing about the enhanced version, the EX version, is when you do it, you can shoot multiple rockets, and if you hold it, you can delay it, and also you can hold and delay for multiple angles as well, depending on what direction you hold, is the direction you shoot. And given the nature of the up-angled shots as well, you can also go for like fun little combo conversions as well, just keep people juggled in the air. So yeah, he's got a very good strong basic zoner toolset, and a way to discourage you from getting around the projectiles. Also has a wide variety of command normals and target combos. So even though this isn't like an ABC combo structure kind of game, he does have ABC style combos. So if you're just looking in for someone a little bit easier, that's really nice as well. And then, you know, tackle on things like he has a big jet charge that can just spike him forward. He's got a good, just kind of all-rounder move set. And then we get into the arsenals. So the first one here is Bat 1000. So Bat 1000's going all in on the whole zoner archetype bit here. You might notice the rockets. So if you tap your arsenal button, the D button, you just unload all of them at once. Now, rockets do take a little bit to recharge. You can't just spam it, although while you're waiting for the rockets to recharge, you can't spam your rocket fist, right? But yeah, once you're good to go, once you have 5 rockets, just hit the button, and then just gigantic amount of projectiles coming your way. Also, while your missiles are filled, you can also jump and shoot them, and it gives you insane pressure. And the thing about this is this works jumping forward, it works jumping back as well. This isn't Street Fighter. You can do good moves while jumping backwards, right? So it's not necessarily as high damage or as screen controlling as the grounded version, but it is very annoying, and you can do it while running away, frustrating the enemy. Also, if you space it correctly, it can be very plus on block while you're jumping forward. So it's just a really good tool. The only thing holding it back is once you use it, you got to wait for the missiles to recharge. And if it was just those already, like that'd be really strong, right? There's more. So if you jump and hit quarter circle back and the arsenal button, you also have another way to do a bunch of aerial projectiles. And you can also do this while jumping backwards, by the way. And it's another way just to basically fill the screen with garbage. Now this one is harder to space to make it advantage on block, like say the up rockets, the jump rockets. But still, it's just a way to like, okay, I'm out, and then all of a sudden I'm all the way in, and we're just shooting projectiles in your face. This is also a arsenal where the supers change up. So if we do quarter circle forward, double quarter circle forward, and D, arsenal button, We got a giant mid-screen laser, and this is basically a near instantaneous beam. It's not quite full screen, also does more additional burn damage after the fact, but it's a good checkmate. Like, if I catch you doing anything with a bit of a startup to it, it's very much a gotcha button, and it's only available in this arsenal, and it hurts pretty bad. Also, the low health desperation super, so 50% health or less in this variation, is just straight up one of the best supers in the game. So it's just a bunch of missiles. They don't do much by themselves, but they fill the screen, and you can freely just go in and pressure, attack after the fact. Like, they kind of gotta hold it. Now, let's look at our second arsenal, Photon Power Commands. So this one also has a bit of a zoning focus, although it's not as blunt force hammer like some of the rockets. So now our arsenal button, our D button, the base shot is a big beam. And this is, well, it's near instantaneous, full screen's very fast. Like, that is very good, but it's a duckable high. So people can go under it. Lots of characters have command normals that'll low profile while moving forward. It is just like very strong, absolutely, but it does contain a weakness to it. This arsenal also just contains a lot of like one-off unique powers, like Jump D now becomes a giant hurricane. And the fun thing about this is at the right angles, it can be advantage on block. So you'll just land directly with advantage in front of their face. Like, if it hits, great, sure. But if you space it correctly and you get it kind of lower to the ground, then you have advantage frames, and it's always very strong. You also gain a newer version of your charge. So you gain an EX version that's different. Quarter circle back D. And this is just charging forward with the eye lasers. And the thing about this is it also leaves you advantage frames after connect. So if you get a small combo, you land it, then the opponent is immediately like, okay, guess strike, guess throw, like guess the usual mix-ups. Now, one very powerful thing here is quarter circle forward D. So this has slower startup, but this is unblockable, this freeze. And the freeze, well, if you ever played fighting games and you know, like, you know a thing or two about freezing somebody, right? Freeze means free combos. So again, slower startup, there's a wind-up to it, but this is not a blockable attack. So the enemy is set to block all right now, right? And, well, if you were here and you stood still, this is going to connect, and then that's all she wrote. You're going to take a combo. So it's a very powerful attack. It always takes a bar. There is no non-EX version of this move. It always takes a bar. But if you catch him sleeping at the wheel, it's free damage. Both our supers also change in this arsenal as well. So your base super, quarter circle forward twice in D, sort of reminds you of like, well, Shin, sure you can, a little bit, right? Like, I'm not crazy, right? And then falling off like a giant cinematic eye laser, very scary. And the low health desperation version is an install. So now, you see here, you're glowing. Moves that use like, you know, extended moves, like this is stand jab. And this hurts, and it has very long range, right? And the thing about this, besides like some of your normals changing, is the bar that's going down, obviously, is the install bar. And when it runs out, it runs out. But while this bar is up, EX moves are free. So they'll drain the bar just a little bit more than it's naturally draining at. But while you're in this, like, it doesn't cost you anything to go for EXs. So I could do an EX move and then still do my super after the fact, because I'm not actually burning that bar. I'm only burning the install bar. So that makes it very scary, very terrifying. So both arsenals for Mazinger Z, like, contain very powerful attacks. It's just really which way do you want to go about it. The first arsenal is more just hardcore zoning. The second arsenal also more additional zoning as well, but a bit more utility with some of the other moves. And it's just really which way do you want to go. Mazinger Z kind of has something for everybody. Now let's go to Qing Long. So Qing Long, you can just tell by the pose, right? We're here to like martial arts people to death, even though we're in a giant robot, but you know, whatever, it works. So does not have access to the universal hover mechanic, but can instead just do like double jumps, right? So I don't have to sell you too hard on the concept of a double jump being a very strong thing in a game where they're not common. So the mobility already is pretty different for Qing Long just as a base level. Also just good aerial attacks, like we have jump light and jump back light, which is just an automatic cross up, so you don't have to worry about spacing. If you want to compare this like the Iori's Taco, kind of a same deal here. Just very easy mobility in the air and very easy offense in the air. As far as our universal stuff, like we have a slide, we got lots of target combos. Also, just a lot of normals are just really strong. Like stand heavy is +8 by itself on hit, meaning you can actually link into lights after the heavy, which is just kind of cool, I think. Like, so If you like Link combos, this character is very good for it. So now let's talk about our first variation, our first arsenal, and that is Shadow Fists. So you may notice here we have a bunch of orbs at the bottom, right? That's a big part of it. As every time you do a special move, it'll build one of your orbs. And once you build all your orbs, you gain this move right here. So this move, if you want to call it Psycho Snatcher, you could, I guess. It's basically just a big, like, get over here, and I get a free combo. And if you happen to block it, well, get over here, and I'm very plus on block regardless, right? So that is the reward. But every time you do a special move, like, regardless of what the special move may be, just inputting it, right? Doesn't have to hit, it doesn't have to connect, but just inputting the special move will fill it up. And then once you build up to all the orbs, well, then you get your Psycho Snatcher, and then you can do, you know, the combo of your dream. And rest assured, I don't know the combos right now. That's for you guys to figure out. So the thing about this in this variation is very interesting. So we have the Shadow Punches, which is not quite a proper projectile. It does not go full screen, but it does give a little bit of a neutral presence at least, I guess. You can use it as like an extended button. We also have charge moves, as in like hold back for 2 seconds, hit forward, light, medium, or heavy. And of course, there's also an enhanced version as well. And these are ways to like move forward, build for combo structure. The heavy version is also a knockdown, which is very strong. They're mostly safe-ish on block. The heavy version also having a lot of pushback on block. So it just makes your life a lot easier. Also, the drive button here, the arsenal button, is a spot dodge, like very much like old King of Fighters style. Like you are just invincible and things will go through you. So since you're a bit shorter range, it's just a way to like not get blown up by projectiles effectively. Now to make this really fun, because, you know, okay, we're short range, we're quick, we're agile in this arsenal here. So how about some command grabs? So we have a hop command grab. I guess you can say similar like Fei Long or Yun or something, where if it connects, it'll just put you at advantage. And afterwards with your frame advantage, you can start getting combos, like just do whatever, right? Like, so that's good. And then we also have a proper command grab. Big old Izuna Dunk. Now both these grabs are EX only. So this isn't like a full-on grappler character. We have that's coming later. But yeah, so 2 different layers of command grabs, like on top of like the speed, the utility, the evasiveness this character has. That is really interesting. And of course, it's all in service to doing your specials, building up your orbs at the bottom, to getting the big Psycho Snatcher, and then getting your combo from there, right? So that's kind of what we're all building to. And of course, if they block, and you're plus on block, and they're right in your face, well, kind of stuff writes itself, doesn't it? Our low health desperation super is basically just a bunch of punches and kicks. These are all free, by the way. Low health desperation supers do not take meter. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. And our metered super is very different. So it's quarters go back and throw, and it's a command grab, and it has a lot of startup. You can jump it on reaction, but it does start with the dodge. So it's very, very invincible to anything. And if you do get caught, well then, you're going for the ride, to say the least. You're taking a lot of damage off a command grab. So this is a very unique arsenal for sure. Now, our second arsenal is very different. This is Dust Annihilation. So Dust Annihilation is very much leaning in like to the evasiveness parts and the airborne parts. So we got moves like this, Cortical Back Series, like medium heavy. And these are just big old dives, big knockdowns. The enhanced version is basically like Misogi for Akuma. Like you just go in and yeah. So they're overheads for one. You got to block this stuff standing. Also, annoyingly, the slower versions, well, annoyingly for you, I guess, if you block it, they're all advantage on block as well. So like you can't just let them keep doing this, because like it's not going to work out for you, right? Only the light version is negative. It's only -2. Like it's not negative by any real amount. And God forbid you try to take your turn back, because instead of the spot dodge, our arsenal button is now straight up parries. So there's a gauge governing it, so you can't just spam it. But yeah, you have high, mid, low parries effectively, right? So you can call people out big time. So okay, lots of overheads and a lot of them are plus. How about some dive kicks? We all love dive kicks, and I don't got to explain to you, a dive kick is strong for all the reasons a dive kick is strong. And you can jump back dive kick as well. Once again, this is not Street Fighter. It is not scared to give you strong moves from jumping backwards. So lots of dive kicks. And yes, if you space it correctly, your dive kicks can be plus on block. And the enhanced version, well, don't even worry about it, basically, is what the enhanced version is, right? As long as you space it even mildly decently, like I'm +5 in your face. That is ridiculous. And if you space it awfully, it moves you far away, and -2 from like who cares. So, yo, this is the dive kick character. It's good for the reasons you think it is. All right, so we got Masogis, we got dive kicks. What else do we got? How about some lane changes? So this also uses the unique resource bar that the parry also uses. But yeah, you can basically go full on Fatal Fury and just switch lanes, and this is invincible for the duration. So if you're just looking for a way in, boom, you're in, done. Like, it is that simple. Because when you're switching lanes, as it were, the enemy can't deal with you. So more evasiveness, we got the parries, we got dive kicks. So what else do we got? Well, keeping with this defensive stuff, we like to have the parries, right? We also have a counter super. If we catch you with the counter, it's another deal where you're going for the ride in a pretty big and elaborate way, as you can see here. Like, it's elaborate. It's elaborate. So that's pretty interesting. The desperation super is the same as it was before, so that's not too different. Not every arsenal has different supers. Some do, some don't. So that one's the same regardless. So yeah, very different. One variation, one arsenal is like a pixie grappler, and the other one's a dive kick parry master. So Qing Long, very unique character. Okay, now let's talk Vassago. So first off, it's very difficult to separate him from his arsenals, because like one has the gun, the other one doesn't. So this is armed to the teeth, and this has the gun sword. And this gives him a lot of very strong normals that he doesn't have otherwise. It doesn't exist in the other arsenal. And, well, being a gun, he can just shoot you, right? Like, that's kind of the big deal. These shots do have the energy mechanic tied to it. You can see here below him. So every one shot takes 1 energy bar. And then when you're used up, it then goes on refill, right? So different normals entirely. Strong normals. I love heavy, by the way, because it's a really strong single hit confirm. Like, enemy is set to random block. I don't know if they're going to block or not right now, right? And with this, cool, got it. Nope. Cool, got it. Cool, got, like, it's just so easy for single hit confirms. I love it. And it's only 0 on block with huge range. Like, it's really good. Now, before we get too far, there is some universal stuff, like some of his normals, command normals, like forward light is a head cannon. This has gigantic range. It's ultra active. If people are trying to approach linearly, like, this stops them dead. Might not do a lot of damage, but this is just a huge momentum killer. And we do have some of the shield attacks here. So the Cortical Back series is universal, and they just kind of bonk it with the shield. They're good combo enders. The heavy one is plus on block, so very reactable to be sure, but it is +1 on block, so that's nice. And he does have an uppercut. I think the hitbox is better with the sword variation arsenal, just because it has like a larger hitbox to the sword. But it's an uppercut in all the ways you would expect, although the heavy version busts out the shield first, and the shield will block normal stuff. So, like, say a projectile is coming your way. Like, the uppercut is for jumps. It's air invincible, but not projectile invincible. However, the heavy version, because it uses the shield to start, it's just armored to anything. It's not invincible. It's just armor. It effectively just stops whatever's coming your way. So that is nice. The shield will be in both of the arsenals. So now going back to the arsenal specific stuff, like the gun stuff, right? So he also has the ability to take a prone stance and shoot from there. And he'll just low profile many things. So that's good in the ways you'd think it'd be good. Down and your D button, your arsenal button, gives you a variety of elemental grenades. And these will be on a timer. You can't spam them. They're very strong. And they rotate. So we have fireball, we have ice, and we also have an electric grenade. The order can be a little bit random. Electric bounces, very active the whole time. And then once you rotate through, then you go through. But it's not necessarily a set thing. It's kind of random which one you'll get. But regardless, it is always going to be powerful. They're all very strong. This is where I should also mention the gunfire. So we have prone, we have regular shots, we also have air shots. And the beauty here is being a more zoner-based character, this arsenal anyways. It retreats you while you're doing it. Like, you will move backwards, so you're going to get more space backwards, and thus more space to run away and zone. So that's really strong in all the ways you think it'd be strong. Now, the earlier character we talked about, Qing Long. Qing Long had the old King of Fighters style spot dodge, right? Vassago has, in this arsenal, the King of Fighters roll. And it's invincible. It just loses to throws. So it's exactly a King of Fighters roll. So that is amazing. Now, keeping in the amazing stuff, we do got some unique stuff. So that energy from the laser shots, right? You can choose to burn it all in one go with an EX. You basically deploy a drone, and however much energy you have, it'll just dump it in a very aggressive angle above your head. And you can freely move while doing this, right? So if it hits, you can do combos. If it pressures, you're incredibly advantaged on block. Like, it is just very powerful. Speaking of very powerful, this arsenal's low health desperation super is a big laser shot. It does okay damage. The thing is, it's very hit confirmable off like any basic laser shot. So you just commit to a couple shots, and if you see connect at all, like, it's effectively a free combo. And once again, low health desperation supers do not take meter. It's once per round, yeah, but like there's no resource other than the couple energy shots you're burning. That just makes it extra tasty. And our regular super, once again, a lot of these are very cinematic, kind of showcasing the power of the mecha. Just going forward and just giving the big be-all, end-all sword slice. So we got some defensive properties thanks to the shield, which is universal, but just a suite of new very powerful normals thanks to the sword, the gun stuff, the keep away, the grenades are very powerful. We got King of Fighters rolls for some reason. Very powerful arsenal in my opinion. Our second arsenal for Vassago is limiter release. And you might notice there's no big gun sword, right? So that's definitely a downside. But there's some fun stuff to make up for it here. So we do got some of the other universal stuff we talked about earlier, like shield uppercuts, all that kind of stuff. In trade-off for losing the gun, though, we gain tons of defensive power. We have the shield. So this has its own unique energy bar here. And sure enough, the shield just, well, it defends from everything, right? Like, you can't really stop him while the shield is up. And he can also dash while holding the shield. He can also cast the shield forward. This takes a lot. This takes your whole energy bar, in fact, right? However much bar you have determines how much energy the shield will have to travel forward. But it's just basically a super strong defensive powerhouse. We also gain some target combos just to make them better up front because, you know, we're losing a lot of our long range power. So target combos, just better upfront ability. We have new supers. So our desperation super now just dumps everything. This will put you in overload real quick. And our regular 3-bar super, a different cinematic super, very kind of Frieza-ish, tossing the big pink energy ball, I guess. But I'm burying the lead here. The whole reason we picked the limiter release version, the arsenal, is to release the limiter. Now, I'm not going to put in the music, because they'll definitely copyright strike me. I know it for sure. I've been through this enough times in my life. But you take a quick look here, and then this is what I'm imagining here. I hear, then I hear, this is very Eva. Like, we got the teeth on the face and everything, right? And you can break your limiter whenever you want. It's just hold C and D together, and then it starts draining your energy bar. And you're faster, better, stronger, everything. Like, your moves before, like your uppercuts, now turn into double uppercuts. Like, all your stuff just gets better, stronger. Like, the shield toss down becomes like a proper projectile. When you're in it, he also now just gains an air throw, because why not? And speaking of throws, you can go full Hulk on people now. So this does take a bar, but yeah, this is actually one of the stronger command grabs in the game. And so now you're faster, better, stronger. Like, look at these dashes, right? Like, it's crazy. So you are just a threat up front. The thing, of course, is you eventually run out of bar, and then you're in the overload state, and then you can't do much of anything. You will have to power down and then kind of start over again. Now, the thing is, though, you don't have to wait for the overload to happen. So while you're doing this, you can manually power down and then avoid the overload state. So that's good. You don't want to be in the penalty. But while you do it, once again, it's free to do. It's free to start up. It even has a hitbox attached to it. Like, you can hit people doing this, right? You can also combo into it. Like, it'll put you in overload state, like, from the command dash cancel. But then once you're in here, you're immediately back out of the overload state anyways. So there's a million ways to get into it. It's very strong, and it just makes you a very threatening character, to say the least. So a very different kind of arsenal compared to the more zoning one, more tricky one. This one's like brute force speed, tear the opponent apart. Our next character is Boss Borot. And yes, you might tell just by looking at him, he's a little bit of a silly boy. He's got some of that Dancouga in him as well. And one thing about him is he's got a bunch of really strong normals. Very long range. As you can tell, I can control the screen really well just by basic button presses. Also, if you like mash moves, he does indeed have mash special moves. So that's nice. They don't exist too much in the modern day anymore. So I'm a fan of that. And he's got a very interesting base level super move in that he assembles a gigantic bomb and then we go for the ride. And you might notice that didn't work out so good for me, right? But the thing is, it is aimable. So you can go up into the air, you can stay on the ground, or, you know, try to aim it in between. But the thing is, it does so much damage, and even does additional burn damage for gray health, and the damage it does to you is also gray health recoverable damage. And yeah, it's very silly, and this is where the arsenals come into play. In Arsenal 1 specifically, he doesn't have to go down with the ship. He can get off the ride and just let the bomb do its damage, because he has a special role in this arsenal. This arsenal is called Rolling Tactics. So your D button gives you a roll, and by itself, the roll is a hit. So it is useful in that way. And you might notice it fills up this meter. And if the meter gets full, you get dizzy because you're rolling around. You're spinning too much. You get dizzy. Like, what's going on? Now you can mash to make the dizzy go away, FYI. And so much of this builds up the dizzy bar that you also have a desperation super headbutt from the dizzy. So if you are, you know, scared the enemy's going to come in, that's exactly the moment you can headbutt him. It is a desperation only move, and it's only once per round. It is invincible startup as well. So it's just a nice gotcha to the downside mechanic. But why do we have the dizzy? Because it doesn't seem that strong by itself, right? Because you can cancel everything into the rolls. You can forward roll, you can back roll, like you can do whatever you want, including stuff like do a move, roll in, and then go for the command grab, which is unique to this variation as well. So he becomes quite tricky. If you hit your arsenal button in the air as well, it also, keeping up with the little bit of a sumo theme here, it's almost like an E-Honda butt slam, right? And it can cross up, it will fill the dizzy meter as well, but it's a way to alter your jump angle, which is always very strong. We also have an anti-air grab. And the thing is, if you whiff that, it actually becomes an attack in and of itself. So just whiffing it, like you have to wait him out for the trip. Otherwise, you're still going to get hit. But yeah, so anti-air grab, he'll send you flying, basically. Doesn't take too much to launch the enemy and then just send him for the ride. And the thing about this is that he has a second desperation move. So he has the dizzy desperation move in this arsenal, which is great, but he actually has two. He also has a super desperation air grab, and fun story, it will combo from the EX grab as well. So you can really send people for the ride, is basically what I'm trying to say here, and get some respectable damage. It will dizzy you, but from far away you can safely recover. He also has an enhanced only move, which is basically a gigantic spin, which will auto dizzy you as well. Armored startup and invincible to grabs. So basically it's all about managing the dizzy bar, and the fact that you can cancel basically every move in the game without having to go for, like, you know, the command dash mechanic and overload yourself. You only have to raise that dizzy bar a little bit, and it's an attack in and of itself. That's the thing. It's a very tricky arsenal. Now, in comparison, our second arsenal is less tricky and more throw everything to the wall and see what works. That is Boss's Treasure. Boss's Treasure is the random item go thing. So you just start with a bunch of random items, and then you just, like, effectively teabag, right? And you'll just do a shake, and then you get a bunch of new random items. And these come in forms like bombs, explode and launch, fans for big combos. We got this big mace, big F-off hit that we saw earlier. How about some parachutes that you can really mess up your jump angles with, right? We got a lot to work with here. You want to just, you know, slingshot people, you can. If you want to throw wrenches and have big bouncing projectiles, you can. And as for the slingshot, it is aimable as well, and you can move while doing it. So has like multiple angles, and just, it's actually kind of threatening. So it takes a bar to reshuffle every time, but every time you just get new items to work with, and you can kind of go from there. Also, for the wrenches, you can throw all your wrenches if you get more than one, or you can just throw them at one time. Like, each item is quite powerful. It's just that naturally they're random, so you have to, you know, the skill is using the randomness in the right time, right? Because sometimes the big mace is what the doctor ordered, and sometimes You know, slingshot zoning's what's on the menu. Like, we got a lot of options here. He also gains a new desperation super in this arsenal. And this is, you might notice, like a bit of a golf swing mechanic, although it's a baseball swing specifically. And it has a sweet spot. So if you hit in the red, it's a miss. If you can hit in the green, it's fair, and, you know, it does alright damage. The desperation super, it's free to do. You just gotta be low health. However, you can get in that sweet spot, perfect. It becomes a gigantic wall bounce. And if you can let the wall bounce, well, you can get a lot of damage off that wall bounce, is what I'm trying to say, right? Like, it's quite powerful. So if you like just literally throwing stuff to the wall and seeing what happens, this is exactly the arsenal for that. Okay, so for Nero, I don't know too much about the Iron Saga lore, but apparently she is the Pope of the Mechanical Vatican. And no, I'm not making that up. Like, she has Pope missiles. Like if you don't believe me, yo, like, these are Pope drone cones. So yeah, we got Pope missiles, right? Like, so that should be enough for some people out of the gate. So normals wise, she does not have amazing normals. She's got a few target combos to help make up for it, like with easy hit confirms. She does have what we dub in the fighting game community the White Woman Sweep. So that is something. She also has an interesting like pirouette mechanic that she can do from jumps as well to help alter her jump angles. And it'll kind of auto just side to the enemy, whatever side they're on. And yes, we talked about the Pope missiles. That's the EX version. The regular version of the move is drills. And this is a quite long-range, good space control drills. It's a very active hitbox. And on top of the drills, we also have saw-knees. This is universal. Both variations, both arsenals have this. So we have the saw-knees, which is good for like combo ender stuff. And we have air saw, also great because you can tiger knee it, as in you can do this very low to the ground, making it very difficult overhead to block, especially when you're like dealing with various lows. And also, interestingly, the enhanced version just becomes like a full-on gigantic air projectile. So a lot of utility in the move. So that's the base stuff. Let's talk our arsenals. The Simulacrum. So one of the things about Simulacrum is you steal the enemy. You can summon them. It takes your bar here. You can see it regenerating now. And every enemy has its own unique move. Sometimes it'll launch. Sometimes it'll just be normal. It depends character to character. Who you're fighting against, actually, this move will take some of their characteristics. So it is a bit of a matchup based move. Also, it's not the only use of that meter. You can also create little drones. And the little drones, well, it's slow. It eats up a lot of space. You can hide behind it. You can rush forward. Like, it's very useful. It's just a giant, well, not giant, a small walking hitbox that can help just enhance your offense. Also, we have an EX only air grab. And what's interesting about this is it automatically refills your charge bar. So no matter how much or how little charge bar you have, if you land this move, automatically goes back to max, and then you can summon another clone or summon another little robot helper. Also has a unique 3-bar super only for this variation, just a gigantic air beam. The angle's very aggressive, as you can see, and the attack arc's almost instantaneous, so if you catch him hitting a button or just whiffing something in the air, you can just basically unload at him from full screen. Also, a unique desperation super, and you might be hearing in the background here, almost hearing say, Raging Storm, as sending those drills out at the enemy. Our second arsenal is GTW Fighters. And this is kind of keeping with the theme that she summons stuff, although these are specifically two little buddies, red and blue. And actually, they're the little buddies on this sign right here, GTW. So, you can see here, we summon red, and we can summon blue, and they both do different things. And you can only summon one at a time, and then once both are summoned, then basically you have a little bit of wait time, and the bar will refill, at which point, once it refills, you can summon both again. Some of the attacks are just here to help like with combos, like a base juggle. Some of these like are pressure-based. Like, they're both good at different things. They both have different calls, like, hey, Kamehameha. Wait, no. Surely not exactly Kamehameha for legal reasons, but both have very strong beam angles they can cover as well. We get a new 3-bar super here in this arsenal, and very elaborate. It doesn't refill the meter necessarily, but because the animation's a bit longer, if you are out of meter, it will refill most of it during the course of the animation. And our desperation super is very powerful. It's a full screen time freeze. Like, straight up. It's blockable, FYI, But basically, if I catch you doing anything, like you're stuck in the time freeze, I get a guaranteed combo. And once again, full screen, right? So very powerful, especially for a free, meterless Desperation Super. So Nero's a bundle of very interesting mechanics, interesting options for screen control. Once again, her normals are the weakness, but given that she has so many other strong, unique traits, sort of by design, right? As far as gameplay mechanics go, a very interesting character. Okay, now let's get to Getter Robo. Getter Robo is one of the main events of the game, very popular character, and very complex character. So we've been talking now for a while, the arsenal stuff, right? Like, okay, effectively your variation, you pick it beforehand. Getter Robo doesn't do that. Getter Robo is all variations at once, and also more than two. So we have Getter 1, we get Getter 2, and we get Getter 3. And each one of these is its own full, complete character. Like, straight up. If you bust these up to 3 different characters, you would not say these are weak characters by themselves. And you can do all 3 at once. In fact, your Desperation attack is basically like a triform attack that, on top of doing a lot of damage, will just switch you to the next character in line. And of course, you can manually switch whenever you want. And all 3 are different archetypes as well. So, this is a high skill cap character, to say the least. He's got the royal treatment. So we'll start with Getter 1 first. So Getter 1 is kind of like your good all-rounder style character. Very strong projectile games, very annoying projectile tosses covering non-standard angles that can be difficult to jump. Also has a variety of beam attacks to help with the zoning. And enhanced beam attack is just a giant leap forward, and if it hits, then your advantage frames right in their face, so that's really strong. Has a wide variety of annoying command normals, like, hey, low profile slides, we got that. How about the old axe kick? We got that, and axe kick's great because it's very advantage. So advantage, in fact, you can very easily link into combos after the fact, so that's very big reward. And very big reward on hit. Okay, what if it's blocked? And funny story, it's +3 on block. What? So this easy hit confirm combo starter is also very advantageable. Sure, why not? Take it before they nerf it, I don't know. So we did mention the zoning suite and the various levels of space control, so obviously people are going to start wanting to jump. And we got uppercuts. The base level uppercut's not full invincible, but we do have an enhanced uppercut, which is invincible. And on top of that, we also have an anti-air grab. So between uppercuts and anti-air grabs, it's difficult to jump on this guy if Getter 1's on the ball at all. Getter 1 and all the Getters have its own unique 3-bar super. So this is just basically like raining death down from full screen. Just the entire screen gets covered. It's pretty crazy. But like, that's enough. There's more, but like, let's go to Getter 2. Now Getter 2's, I don't even know what to call this character's archetype. Fast for sure, has a proper run. Everyone else dashes pretty much for the most part in this game, right? This character just runs. Top of runs, we have an effective dive kick. It is not able to be made plus on block. It's always safe on block, but also it has incredible knockdown, like very long knockdown, so that's very strong. Got a variety of good just like target combos, just easy hit confirms, stuff like drill. So just big charge forward move. It's safe on block as well as you space it, but it's different depending on the button you press. Quarter circle forward heavy is a big drill. Quarter circle forward light, it's a projectile. Like, it's actually pretty wild. We also have ground control with aimable spikes here. So with this, and admittedly a slower projectile. This isn't as good as some of the other projectiles, but it does give him an ability to control the screen. That's decent. Trait button is a moving spot dodge. He just teleports through stuff. And then add to the fact that he has an EX command grab. So EX command grab doesn't do a lot by itself, but it leaves the opponent in a hit okay state. So effectively, if you land it, like, do combo of choice, right? So it's very strong in that way. And then, well, we have our third Getter, Getter 3. And you might notice visually very different because he's sort of like a land tank. And actually, just before we switch over, this is Getter 2's 3-bar super. Very maximum spidery, I guess you could say. Big dunk down, big drills. But yeah, so Getter 3, on top of being like a weird low-profile character, he's a grappler zoner. The most blessed of archetypes. So he's got command grabs, big dunks, big spins. He's got some interesting charge attacks here. The B version of quarter circle back, specifically when he reels back, this is armored. So you can use it to crush jump-ins or whatever. Also, the enhanced version of Charge Forward is projectile invincible. So if people are being just, obvious with the projectiles, you can just storm right through it. And this is where we get stupid. So the Quarter Circle Forward series is projectiles. And they come in a variety of different angles. You can already kind of see how this would be annoying, right? But I haven't even gotten to the best part yet. This doesn't have the usual fireball fighting game rule of, well, if you did it, you got to wait for it to leave screen, then do another one. No! You can do this as fast as you can recover from the move. Like, you can fill the screen with absolute trash. And then add the enhanced version into the mix. The enhanced version are homing rockets. So, it can get a bit much, is what I'm trying to say. Also, you can move while you're tossing these, by the way. A lot of his moves, you can freely move while you're, like, doing them. So, this also counts for his normals as well. So he's a bit of a terror is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, this character is ridiculous by himself, let alone having two other playable characters beside it. Also, his trait is this big spinning lariat. And this big spinning lariat, wait a second. If I'm a big person who can command grab people, and if I can do a big spinning lariat, does that mean, yes sir, it is deflecting all projectiles. You can lariat through projectiles. And in a good way. Like, this is a good, like, maybe some other people could learn from him in recent games, right? And when it comes to, like, our big cinematic super, like, he just takes you to the cleaners. Like, this is, yeah. So, Getter Robo is 3 fully distinct different characters you can switch to on the fly. And each one is very strong in its own way. Definitely a high skill cap character. This projectile stuff, like, it's so nonsense. Like, if you're going to get anyone to rage quit in this game early on, it only just came out yesterday as the time when we were recording this, probably going to be stuff like that, right? So Getter Robo is a superstar in this game. So here we have Dancouga. Dancouga is the game's big boy grappler. He's also a guest character. He's not one of the Iron Saga characters. He is from the 80s, an anime called Dancouga Super Beast Machine God. You know what? I like that title. So he is the game's grappler. We've already gone through a lot of characters, and we've seen a fair amount of command grabs, but they always take meter. His do not take meter. He's just going to send you for the ride regardless. So that's kind of the big difference between him and the other characters that have effective command grabs. Now, it's not to say he doesn't have any X command grab like the other characters do. It's just his is combo okay. You get a combo. But yeah, so light, medium, heavy, they all do different damage. Light does less damage, but has the fastest startup. Heavy does the most damage, has the most startup. And he's here to dunk you. And keeping with the big boy theme, his Quarter Circle Forward series here has a bunch of, like, charging moves, right? All 3 of these moves have armor. It's not frame 1 armor, but it's just a really good way to bully people. Especially the Quarter Circle Forward Light is an actual low. Like, an armored low that knocks down? That's kind of messed up. So keeping with the grappler traits, he also has, like, a running bear grab. That is EX only. He also has a very quick overhead. So this is also EX only, but the thing about this quick overhead is you can do it after command grabs as part of, like, a natural combo to get extra damage. Very, I would say, intentionally so, reminiscent of Clark from the King of Fighters, getting follow-ups to the command grabs. It's not a lot, but you just need that little bit extra damage. It is there. And he also has a Desperation that is a command grab as well. So the base variation of the character before anything else is definitely a proper grappler, a proper big boy character. Now, when we get to the arsenals, Arsenal 1 is Dancouga Ken. And Dancouga Ken, well, he's coming prepared. Let's put it that way. He's bringing the sword out. And the sword here, it changes his normals. He gets many new special moves that are sword dunks. The one thing, while you have sword out, though, the sword dunks do replace the command grabs. So you can only command grab people when the sword is out, or rather when it's not out. If it is out, your command grabs will be replaced. And in situations like, say, the running bear grab, it'll make the startup longer because he has to put the sword away. So when you have sword up, you're committing to having much better and bigger normals and, like, just general space control, but your ability to be a grappler is very diminished. Also, if you hold the button, the stance, it actually will become just an attack, and it can also be a low if you hold down. So that can create combo routes in and of itself, as entering stance can be part of the combo. So, like, baby combo to be sure, but, like, there's potential for combo routing this from like entering stance, and this is his 3-bar unique to the sword, and it's this is 80s mecha as it gets right there. The big sword's I love that. That's cool. Also has a proper invincible move, and this is making a statement as he draws the sword out. Very invincible. This giant pillar owns it. So this variation, this arsenal is just all about the sword, getting big sword normals, some new sword specials, a couple tricks with the sword stance draw and like attacking out of it. But yeah, it's pretty simple. And now Arsenal 2 gets a bit more complex. So Arsenal 2 is the Dancouga formation. And you might notice here we have 4 icons above our super bar now, right? Each of these icons is its own special move. And it's a one-off. You do it, it's done. You have to go through all these moves, and each of these moves is very powerful, I should say. Very, very powerful. And it doesn't cost you anything to do it. Like, that's just it. But you have to run through all 4 of the moves before the bar will recharge. And once the bar recharges, you get the 4 moves back. So we have our base move here, just standard D button is gunfire. It's like a much better version of Vassago's forward A. And it's also cancelable into the other versions, like our forward D, which is a gigantic F-off laser that just juggles the enemy across the screen. So I can get this, hit confirm into the big laser and get some good damage. Back D is just a giant tracking death laser. Like, it writes itself. I don't got to sell you too hard on this, right? Imminent damage coming in that you can juggle from after the fact. Pretty dang good. And down D is just the biggest. No, you don't get the jump button in the game. It is technically not invincible, but like if you jump at all, like you're done. Also, it leaves them in a juggle okay state. So when I say you're done, I mean you're done. Also, this might be my favorite super in the game. Just absolutely unloads on you. So yeah, 4 very powerful attacks, but each attack is a one-off in and of itself. And then once you burn through all of them, then the recharge begins and you get them back. It doesn't offer you anything else, but it doesn't need to because he just went so strong. Like, let me show you how to chain these all together. Like, say I go for a sweep and then I go for the big laser. Obviously, probably going to want to be defensive, you know, because big laser's coming. But remember, I'm the command grab character, yo. And yeah, so they synergize very well is what I'm trying to say. One bad guess can be that much damage. And if you're like, well, I'm just going to mash out of it. Keep in mind, you mashing out of it means you die just as bad, right? So this arsenal is pretty cool is what I'm trying to say. Dancouga is a pretty good character. Very interesting to me. And of course, he's the command grab character. So like, I'm going to be biased. I like the command grab character. So Dancouga gets a thumbs up from me. Okay, so now we have Shuang, who's somewhat intentionally like Lu Bu. We're going to keep big boy season going here. So Dancouga is our proper big body grappler. Shuang is, I guess, what we would call a brawler. So yes, he has a command grab. It changes depending on which arsenal you're in. We'll get into it. But he has very big normals. And also, he does have a mash move. He has, effectively, let's call it for what it is, 100-hand slap. And it's very powerful, especially because it is cancelable after the fact for various moves. He has more health than the average character as well. He's got a lot of interesting, unique things like an EX Stomp off a command normal, which leaves him at advantage frames. And he can very much link after these as well into big halberd swings. Has a variety of interesting other command normals that are cancelable from his long-range normals as well. But effectively, and his super is the same for both arsenals. But yeah, effectively, big body, big normals, big boy stuff, right? So let's get into the arsenals. The first one is Autocracy of Gunfire. And this is effectively the shotgun / like artillery arsenal. So he gets some basic shot projectiles, very strong because they knock down, right? They knock down. You might notice he has a bit of an ammo counter, but if you land any of these, okay, knock down, reload. So you can just reload at any given time to refill. And you can do these while jumping as well. And that's a knockdown as well. If you do back D, he'll do a little bit of a retreating arc while shooting this at an aggressive angle, making it difficult to jump over this if he's just going to try to zone you out with these. And he also has a variety of moves that use the shotgun shot as like a bounce. Like you can use this to leap up into the air and then hit you while you're in the air. So you can use it to kind of help sass up his combo structure a little bit. And it also cancels in the air shot as well. But also, it's an OTG. So he has a unique shoulder charge move here, right? And I can do this OTG and rebounce you from that. So I can make you just feel like a random, like, whiff, punish, like, buffer hit really bad, right? So that's really cool. His Desperation super projectile doesn't do a lot of damage, but it will automatically refill whatever ammo you don't have. So if you're just looking to refill without having to like leave yourself open, that is a way to do it. And to cap it off, we mentioned command grab. So he has EX command grab, and this just dumps all the shots you have remaining into your grab, and causes a very large juggle, as you can see. So basically, if you get caught in the corner at all, like, you are going for the ride. You're going to take some good damage. Our second arsenal is Lightning Overlord, and this one's sassy. So no more shotguns, no more artillery. There's no more like resource. But now we have aimable lightning pillars. So you hit your trade button, your D button, and when you hit the arsenal button, then you hold another one of the buttons, will determine where the lightning pillar lands. So since it just hits where it is, this can be a very effective keep out, because there's no travel time like, you know, a regular projectile. There is regular projectiles. It's EX only. And this also has a lot of hit stun. And you can also land a lightning pillar from it, right? So very interesting in that way. Another move he has is the Pillar Slam. And this move is an OTG, by the way. So if you're just looking for extra damage on the ground, that works. Now, the main selling point of this is definitely just the base trade attack, right? And the fact that you can use it. The X projectile is nice because you can combo into it, as we mentioned. Also, there's an Arrow K version, which will add damage to your various target combos, or just combos in general. It also does have a command grab. So this one is very different. It steals meter from the enemy, it drains their super bar, and it refills your health. It doesn't do too much damage besides that. It's more a utility grab, giving you a bit more health and them losing bar. But still, that's nice. And the Desperation, mash the trade button, and instead of the normal pillar, he'll just do a tracking pillar. Wherever you are on screen, it'll hit. Doesn't do a lot of damage, and it shouldn't because it's very strong. But basically, it's a gotcha. Like, did I catch you doing anything? Haha, you're done. And then get shocked, effectively. So on top of having like very big normals and like a lot of the usual stuff, like just the ability to like very easily control any part of the screen on demand, this is what makes this arsenal very powerful. So Mephisto next up here, very dragon inspired, looks like a dragon, lots of fire mechanics in both of the arsenals. And one thing about him is he's a charge character. So this game, not many charge characters, but he has hold back, forward, heavy. That's effectively a Psycho Crusher, hold down, up, and heavy, effectively like a flash kick. So that's interesting here. There's not too much in the way of charge. Most characters are motion. So to see a charge character is nice. Besides some of that, some of the other universal stuff here, we do have like, I don't want to call it a dive kick necessarily. It is a bit slow for a dive kick, but it's always safe on block, which is nice. And if we do the enhanced version, the enhanced version is always plus on block and a hit on hit, right? So it's very low risk overall. Maybe it's not always going to get people the way a normal dive kick would, but it's an option. And his 3-bar super is the same for both arsenals. And he basically just does big dragon stuff and unloads a big fireball on you. So Arsenal 1 is Soul Forge. You might notice here the extra meter we have, right? So that is our fire meter. And how we build it is doing any hit. And I mentioned the charge moves before, right? When I say any hit, it counts every hit. So if the move is multiple hits, it'll automatically build per hit. So we do our charge Psycho Crusher style move, that'll automatically give us 8 ticks. And the thing is, we can tap here for like basic shots, or we can hold it for some big shots. And that makes it very powerful. The held versions here, nice, big, and slow. We can like go behind it, and like this kind of pressure writes itself. It's very powerful. It takes a little bit to build up to, sure, right? But it's very, very strong. All right, and now this is pretty simple. It's just like the base fireball, and then we also can do it in the air. And the air is, yeah, like the air version takes a bar because it's that strong. Per tick you have, they'll shoot that many projectiles. And you can go behind them, you can tack through them, like you can do whatever you want And it is exactly as powerful as you think, because like it's basically Faust Meteors, right? But it's Faust Meteors on demand. It's not random. So very, very, very strong. Also, we have a charged super. Hold back forward, and our light button. And this is invincible startup, by the way, and has a million hits, so automatically give you full charge for your fireball. So it's really good gotcha. Like, it's very much a deal. Like, did I catch you throwing a fireball? Haha, gotcha, right? This, again, is only for this arsenal, this move. That's it, though. It's fairly simplistic. Build the fire, burn the fire. And it's going to be much the same here for our second arsenal, the Fafnir Talon. So in this one, you can build up orbs, and you can burn orbs. So you can burn an orb for like a basic projectile. It does a lot of recoverable gray health damage. And the thing here specifically is if you build to 5, it just automatically goes into a very powerful attack. It'll just take all the orbs you've built to that point. But if you just need it on demand, you just hit the button and you just kind of go into it immediately. The thing is, he has a bunch of unique moves like forward and your trade button, jump, trade button. And these moves are buffed if you happen to have a flame orb up. They'll do more damage, they'll do burn damage. And importantly, they'll do things like have more frame advantage. Like here we go. +7. Without it, +2, right? So with this up, I can link afterwards, right? Without it up, no combo, no links. Same deal here, juggle combos. Like, they'll flip out immediately if I juggle with that, but if I have the flame buff up, they're still airborne. And if they're still airborne, that means I can do air combos. He has an air-only desperation move as well, right? So it's also fairly simplistic. It's basically you build up a stock, and once you have a stock, you can basically pick the moves you already have in this arsenal, and then they become extra brute force powerful. Or you can just, toss a projectile. That's always useful, right? Also, if you do a stock buildup, you can cancel the stock buildup into the projectile toss. So if you just need an on-demand fireball immediately without resource, it's an option on the table. So for Mephisto, it's more simplistic compared to some of the other characters, but the options that are given in both arsenals are just sledgehammers. Like, this isn't about subtlety, it's not about mix, it's just pure brute force strength. So we have Susanoo, and Susanoo is a sword-based character, obviously enough here, and just on the base level, tricky as one set of special moves is a bunch of overheads, and okay, fair enough, right? And also, the enhanced version of the overhead is just like come into you wherever you are. And if you want to be a little bit of a dirtbag about it, if you hold back, it becomes a cross-up instead. So you kind of got to block the right way. But then the other set of special moves are all lows. So, okay, we already get, before we even get to the arsenals, overhead lows. The heavy version of Cortical Back, by the way, can be a cross-up blow, which is very different. But then we have this unique little trait. So if you hit A and C together, sharpen the swords. And when you sharpen swords, the two special moves can cancel into each other. So you'll have to be like immediately, okay, immediately overhead, immediately gets low. Or immediately go for low or low overhead or like whatever. Like, you gotta deal with both in quick succession from each other. This only can last as long as this buff is up, but it lasts a long time. You can get it ready and then just sit on it and have it prepared. And this character does have a generic super, so this is regardless of the arsenal. And very much going big on the sword, as you would expect for the sword character. But let's talk the arsenals now. Let's talk Sun and Moon. So out of the gate, Sun and Moon. Okay, we got a projectile. Okay. And also, we can toss a lot of projectiles if we want. So if you want to mash it, it will take a bar. But just a base projectile on its own, like it's handy enough. Especially, when we have like the overhead low mix-up engine. Also interesting is we have a bit of a running command grab. So this is a true grab. It has a little bit of startup, but you can also like just tick into it as well. And it doesn't do true damage. It does recoverable damage, but it does a good amount of burn damage, as you can see here. And your overhead specials can also OTG, so you can give them a quick little bonk at the end of it as well. And that's about it. Like, just having a strong projectile game and an interesting command grab. Although, we do have a unique desperation move. In that, we have an initial hit and then a very slow projectile. Like, we can kind of go behind it, run after it. Like, just something that eats up a lot of the screen. And the initial part does hit. So if you can get the first part to hit, great. And then the projectile will still happen after the fact. and just another element of screen control, effectively. Now, Arsenal 2 also has a projectile focus. This is the Avatar of Raging Storms. And now you can see, oh, what's going on here, right? So there's an energy mechanic governing this because some of these attacks are quite strong. Like down trait is this triple hurricane that starts at a very aggressive angle, arcing up then downwards, making it difficult to jump, you know, if you're closer to the enemy. Just the base trait button is not quite full screen low projectile, so it's not too difficult to go over it. But you can hold it and then take some of your meter. And then after it takes some of your meter, it's kind of just an in-place projectile. You will recover while it's still active on the screen. So you can use it as like area denial or like extending for combos. Really good combo extender as well. Like there's a lot going on for it, right? Like that's why it takes some of that meter that you're building up because it's good. It's multifaceted for sure. Vertical forward in your arsenal button is just another big projectile, but this one also destroys all other projectiles in its wake. So if you're doing the whole zoning war thing, you win. So this is another projectile-based arsenal. The other one's a bit more just straightforward. This one's a bit more nuanced. We have different options. They're not necessarily everyone great in and of itself, and of course they're not as spammable because, you know, you're guided by your energy bar. But that's kind of the deal. And of course, more there, we also have just some nice spinning EX attacks as well. And another, just like we talked about earlier, how you can, like, you know, go across the screen really easy. Another desperation super, where he kind of comes from behind you. And then, well, there's a bunch of sword, cool guy stuff. So, regardless of which arsenal you're in, which kind of brand of projectiles you're going for, you can always just, like, be sneaky and just be on top of the enemy whenever you want. Our next character is Kaguya. So, Kaguya is, like, kind of like, well, ninja slash samurai coded robot. A lot of big sword attacks, a lot of really good target combos as well. And one of the interesting things here is the quarter circle back series. So we got a lot of big sword spins, you know, cool ninja stuff, right? The light version, though, specifically, is cancelable into any other special move. So if you're going for like basic hit confirm combos, like this stuff writes itself. It is dirt easy to do any basic hit confirms with this character, thanks to this, because this confirm one of your many target combos into special, into another special. And on top of the specials, we also have, you know, some standard uppercut stuff, as you would expect. The thing about the uppercuts is they do burn damage on top of the regular damage, so it does recoverable gray health damage, which will matter for her, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And since we mentioned it here, yes, you can cancel from that one special move into the uppercuts, because you can cancel into any other special move. So at the generic base level, before we get into anything else, we have a lot of that synergy, I guess, if you want to call it. We have a lot of unique normals, a lot of command normals that give the character a lot of range to work with. And we do have a generic level 3 bar super, and that is air only, FYI. So you're mostly going to be looking for it in like juggle combos. Something you do just to get him airborne with the enemy, and then you can see the damage stack up pretty easily. But now we have Arsenal 1, the Crimson Moon. So this is all about the burn effect. So anything you do that deals burn damage to the enemy, like your uppercuts, or like, say, the unique drive button here, the Arsenal button, this will cause a burn as well, and it'll raise your bar. And it's all about, well, getting that bar filled up. And once it's filled up, you can use Bloody Moon. And what Bloody Moon does, it's a near instantaneous attack, and whatever amount of recoverable health the character has, it just becomes all true damage. Like in this game, even blocking anything other than lights will make you take gray damage, right? And except for Kaguya, no character can interact with it. Like the enemy will always have the chance to be able to recover it a little bit. But once you fill up the move, the bar here, through various burns or whatever, and plus, you know, whatever gray health damage you're dealing normally, as long as you can get some hits, you know, build that burn damage up, you just say, nah, okay, we're cashing out right now. So that's a very powerful mechanic, and she's the only character in the game that can interact with gray health, as far as I know. She also has an EX attack like this here. This is Dragon Punch Motion and your Arsenal button. It's only in this arsenal, and it applies burn damage. It's an overhead. It's very advantage on hit to the point where you can link combos after the fact. So basically, it's just doubling down on the burn stuff, right? You have new ways to burn people. You can cash out the burn stuff. And also a unique desperation move only to this move, and just big old sword slice. Next arsenal is Darkwing, and this one is about adding extra layers of mobility. So we have the hover, everyone, well, almost everyone can do, but you have a trait hover, which is much faster and better. And you also have a good deal of like air control over this as well. So you can make it like, just a little bit of a guess. Which side am I going to land on exactly? Thing is, you also get some new attacks on top of that. So now your arsenal button comes a very long range poke. This is a character like has all right range, but nothing extreme. And now you have extreme range. Also, this move has a follow-up as well. If you want to just get some damage in, if you know the poke's going to land, you can go for it. Also, opponents at the random block right now. And to me, anyways, I think this is eminently hit confirmable. Like, you can just kind of tell whether or not it's going to land, and then you don't have to hit the button right away. You can delay hitting the button a fair bit and then go afterwards. So it's just good long-range damage. Keeping with the long range, now we have a very long-range low. So if people are just doing the old back and forth and sleeping, it's a way to catch them. She also has a very interesting command grab in that it's definitely slower startup, but it will corner the enemy no matter what, wherever they are on the screen. The combo into it, you're going to have to do like some bigger launches because the more extreme startup, at least I got to lab it a bit more myself, to be honest with you. It's certainly different though, right? So you can land this guaranteed corner pressure no matter what. Also a unique desperation super here. So effectively just a free combo starter. And from there, I don't know the optimals, I'm sorry. But from there you get a combo, right? So Arsenal 2 is definitely a weird grab bag of stuff with like doubling down on aerial mobility in a way people don't have. But then also adding like an incredible range gain to the character. But then also adding like a weird beat squasher command grab to the character. So it's definitely a grab bag of utility, I guess is the way to put it. And now finally, we started with a Mazinger, we're ending with a Mazinger. This is the great Mazinger. So what makes him so great? Well, he's a charge character for one, I'm always a fan of that. But let's start with just the base stuff. So he has a bit of just a kick series here. It's cortical back and light, medium, or heavy. And what's interesting about it is this. So there's follow-ups. That's cool, right? Okay, so you do the move, you do the follow-up, I can launch you a little bit. I also have a low option as well. And if I choose to enhance the follow-up, that's an overhead. So now, immediately, wait, if one follow-up's a low and one follow-up's an, oh, okay, yeah, there we go. So he's got a 50-50 engine out of the gate, basically, right? So, if you get the hit, then you don't got to burn bar. But if I'm just making you block, my various attacks, you're immediately in a mix-up, right? Like, am I going to go for that overhead, which I can, or am I going to go for the low? Like, you got to start guessing. And the overhead, you can do it raw, by the way, off a jump. And if your hands are quick enough, you can indeed tiger knee it. So you can get like an instant overhead, very low to the ground, very difficult to block on reaction. And besides that, he's got some like decent target combos. He does have another armored knee like the regular Mazinger does. Although this one's more just like linear versus specifically air attacks like the other Mazinger. So it's just good armored approach. If I know you're going to press buttons, I can armor right through your stuff and slam you on the other side. Now also, this is universal charge. Charge projectiles. He has a regular projectile. And depending on your button is the speed. Also a fake out version as well. And the thing about this is the recovery is like instant. The projectile does not have to have left the screen to start the next one. As soon as you recover, you can shoot another immediately. So there is indeed a charge startup to this, but you can just keep going. Also, the enhanced version shoots 2. Unfortunately, because you can do them so fast, they don't combo into itself. Because that would be a little nuts. But yeah, regardless, like the pressure, like it stands for itself. That's good. Now also, charge, down to up and kick. We have a big old stomp, and this stomp is an overhead, by the way. It's a very obvious overhead, sure, but it can cross up if you're a little tricky with the spacing on it. And perhaps most importantly, yeah, it's a little slow and a little obvious, sure, but it's also plus on block. So if you don't deal with it, then we got a problem because Mazinger is in your face with advantage. And just to make things a little nice here, the enhanced version does have invincible startup. So this is a get off me move if you're willing to spend a bar. Now our first arsenal is the Deathbringer's power, and you might notice the sword icons. So the sword, well, at bare minimum, we can just toss it as a projectile, right? And it's Good enough as it is, but you might notice they're sticking to the ground here. When they're stuck to the ground, they become a focal point for his unique arsenal super move, in that they're lightning rods. If you're there, you got. Like, it's full screen instantaneous. So you cannot afford to be there. If he has full meter, it becomes very deadly. Now, besides that, the sword toss, like, you have angled sword tosses. You have sword-based attacks as well, if the swords are not used yet. And these attacks can be quite strong as well. You can also toss them both at the same time with a different charge move. If both swords are live, you get a different target combo because you're using both swords, which is nice. And he gets a new Desperation Super. It's air only, but it can be Tiger Need, very low to the ground, as you can see here. But yeah, so he basically gets a bunch of new zoning options, and you can't do it too often. But once you have them on the ground, you have effectively like full screen gotcha super, right? Like instantaneous startup. If the sword's near you, you can't afford to hit a button because then you're getting zapped. So our second arsenal is Combat Pro, and you might notice we have a different meter. So now we got the boomerangs, and we can toss boomerangs at multiple angles. They're not quite full screen projectiles, but they could do damage. They're very active. You can cover a lot of angles. And also we have a different variety of moves here, like a charge attack that sends it at a leaping angle. If you do not catch the boomerang, the bar will take a little bit to refill before you can toss your next one. So you kind of have to watch out for that. That's the nature of the boomerang game, I suppose. You got to wait for it to return. It will return on its own. So just a suite of like kind of mid-screen projectiles, which is nice. But how about we get a little crazier, right? How about we start doing just some full-screen rockets? So jumping backwards and forwards, horizontal forward and your arsenal button, you just spam rockets all over the ground. Like hugely aggressive angle, incredibly advantage on hit. You can combo into anything you want if you got the hit. Akuma, eat your heart out, basically. And like many things with the right angles, you can have it advantage on block as well. So we have the stomp we talked about before earlier, right? So now if we do down, up, throw, charge, now we get a command grab, a leaping command grab, which has a wall bounce attached to it. Like if you can get someone a bit closer to the corner, your options are going to get a bit more reasonable, right? But yeah, so another grab, it's telegraph, sure, but you can always catch people sleeping. And then we also have a charge super. So charge back, forward, and then your trade button, and it's a gigantic beam. Probably best used for combos because like the angle is a bit hard. If you can raw call them out, then absolutely go for it because it is effectively like a 45-degree angle upwards. But yeah, so very different, right? Still projectile-based-ish, but now we're going all in on the boomerangs and their various things. And yes, if you get the right ranges, you can make a combo into each other. So both arsenals are pretty interesting in my book. And that's the video. That's Choose a Main. So we got a pretty good roster here, covering a lot of very different archetypes. And some characters are just so unique, it's not really easy to classify them. Like, what is even Get a Robo? I've been doing this fighting game thing as long as anyone can be doing it. And this guy is just nuts. So yeah, I'm happy with the arsenal system, the variation system. Big fan of Mortal Kombat X myself. So even if Mortal Kombat X didn't do it perfectly, I'm happy to see other games take up the reins and try it out for themselves with variations. And these arsenals make each character very different. And once again, changing archetypes entirely, right? It's not just like, here's one new move. So I think they did it very well. And they also, not too long ago, just announced, you know, there's DLC characters coming. So lots more for the game in the future, including like something like RTS, like a turn-based strategy mode. I don't even know what it's like. Very different for sure. But that said, my friends, that's the video. So if you liked it, you know, support your indie gaming, go bust out Steam, try it out for yourself. But other than that, that's the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Iron Saga Versus.
This is the love making.